If you practice in areas like DUI, bankruptcy, personal injury, criminal defense, or traffic tickets, you probably feel like you're stuck in a marketing treadmill, constantly needing the next new client because past clients rarely come back. And that means you're always chasing the next case instead of generating fees from long term clients or benefiting from client referrals from people you've already helped. Believe me, I know how this feels. As an attorney who does bankruptcy, DUI, and traffic ticket work, it's an ongoing issue. But what if those same clients could still bring you new cases long after their matter is finished? What if you could do what I've learned to do? In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn one-time clients into a steady source of client referrals that keeps your practice growing. Coming up in this video, I'm going to show you three things. First, how to ask for referrals from a one-time client in a way that feels natural and not awkward or salesy. Second, the best moment in the client relationship to ask, because timing makes a huge difference in whether someone actually sends you referrals. And third, how to stay top of mind with former clients so that months or even years after their case ends, they still think of you when someone they know needs a lawyer. Now, before we get into those three things, there's an important mindset shift that most lawyers need to understand. Referrals from one-time clients rarely happen automatically, even when the client is extremely happy with the outcome. A lot of lawyers assume that if they just do great work for their clients, referrals will naturally flow. But in practice areas like bankruptcy, personal injury, criminal defense, DUI, or traffic tickets, the relationship with the client usually ends when the case ends. Once their legal problem is resolved, the client goes back to their normal life. They're relieved the situation is over, and in many cases, they're happy with the lawyer who helped them. But that doesn't mean they'll continue thinking about that lawyer. So the problem most lawyers experience is not that their clients are unhappy. The problem is that nothing happens after the case ends that encourages the client to remember them or to recommend them. The key mindset shift is this: happy clients don't automatically produce referrals. Referrals happen when the lawyer intentionally creates opportunities for clients to remember and recommend them. I started noticing this pattern after practicing law for a number of years. At the end of a case, clients were often extremely grateful. They would thank me sincerely and sometimes even say something like, "If anyone I ever know needs a lawyer, I'll send them to you." But then something interesting would happen. 6 months later, a year later, I would almost never hear from them again. Not because they were unhappy. In fact, most of them were very satisfied with the work that had been done. The reality is simply that their legal problem was solved and they moved on with their lives. That realization led to an important insight. Doing great legal work is essential, but by itself, it usually isn't enough to generate consistent referrals from one-time clients. Once I realized this, I started to understand that if I wanted referrals from one-time clients, I had to do three things intentionally: ask the right way, ask at the right time, and stay top of mind after the case was over. So let's walk through those three things. Referrals from one-time clients are not random. They happen when lawyers intentionally create conditions for them to occur. The first step is to ask for referrals the right way. For many lawyers, the biggest barrier is simply feeling awkward about asking for them. But in certain practice areas, there's another layer of difficulty. The client may feel embarrassed about the situation that brought them to you. Clients who file bankruptcy or are arrested for DUI often don't want to discuss publicly their situation. Because of that, many lawyers assume referrals simply won't happen in these areas. But the key insight is this: clients don't have to talk about their own case in order to refer someone to you. They can simply recommend you to someone else who needs help. So the referral conversation should be framed in a way that removes any pressure on the client to talk about their personal situation. For example, you may say something like this: "Most of my clients only need my help once, but occasionally someone they know runs into a situation where they need a lawyer. If that ever happens with someone you know, feel free to have them reach out to me. I'm always happy to see if I can help." That approach works well for a few reasons. First, it acknowledges that the client probably won't need you again personally. Second, it removes any expectation that they talk about their own case when they refer a client. And third, it frames the referral as helping someone else rather than promoting the lawyer. Many satisfied clients are actually happy to refer people. They just don't realize the lawyer welcomes referrals unless the lawyer says so. The second step is asking at the right moment. Timing matters. In sensitive practice areas, the best moment to ask is often when the client is experiencing relief that the problem has been resolved. For example, when the bankruptcy discharge is granted, when charges are reduced or dismissed, when a case is successfully resolved, or when you're delivering the final good news to the client. At that moment, the client is often thinking something like, "I'm really glad I had this lawyer." That moment of relief and appreciation is when the referral conversation feels the most natural. It's also when the embarrassment factor tends to fade a bit because the client is focused on the solution and the outcome rather than the problem that brought them to you in the first place. If you wait too long after the case ends, that emotional connection fades. And when that happens, the opportunity to naturally introduce the idea of referrals often disappears. So the lesson here is simple. Ask when the client is feeling the value of what you just helped them achieve. They'll also be in what's called a reciprocating mindset. You've done something great for them, they'll want to do something great for you. The third step is staying top of mind after the case ends. This is where most referral opportunities are either created or lost. Even when clients had a great experience and remember you positively, life moves on. Over time, they simply stop thinking about you. Staying top of mind ensures that when someone in the client's network eventually needs a lawyer, the former client immediately thinks of you. Now, this doesn't require constant contact or aggressive marketing. Subtle and occasional communication works best. That could be periodic email newsletters, helpful updates related to your practice area, holiday or year end messages, or occasional check ins. The goal is simply to remain visible enough that when someone in their circle needs legal help, you're the first lawyer that comes to mind. Because referrals from one time clients often happen months or even years after the case ends. Staying top of mind is what keeps that opportunity alive. And here's an important insight to keep in mind. Every client you help becomes another potential referral source, even if they never personally need a lawyer again. If you've handled hundreds of cases over the years, you may already have hundreds of people who could potentially refer someone to you. Most lawyers never activate that network. But once you start intentionally asking, timing it correctly, and staying on top of mind, referrals from one time clients become far more common. Now, once you understand how to ask for referrals and how to stay top of mind with past clients, there's a bigger concept you need to understand if you really want referrals to become a consistent part of your practice, and that's understanding why people refer lawyers in the first place. Referrals rarely happen simply because someone was satisfied with the service that they received. They tend to happen when the person recommending the lawyer feels confident about the recommendation and when the lawyer has built enough familiarity and trust over time to stay top of mind. In other words, referrals are driven by understanding why people recommend certain professionals in the first place. For a deeper dive into how to generate more referrals in general, I recommend watching my next video called Getting More Referrals 5 Must Know Hacks, where I walk through several additional strategies that can dramatically increase the number of referrals you receive. And if you want to understand the bigger picture behind why referrals happen at all, you should also watch my video on the know, like, trust journey. Because before someone recommends you to a friend or family member, they usually have to know you, like you, and trust you first, which hopefully will have been established by the time you complete representation of their matter. If you want to keep building a practice that attracts better clients through referrals instead of constantly chasing the next new lead, watch one of these videos next.